incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought?
All right, welcome to the show today, folks. This is your host, Doug Crow. Don't forget to hit subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff below. It always helps us out and will help you as well because there's free goodies for you there if you do it. So check it out below. And today I've got a very interesting guest on, man. I've known him for a while. He's got some really cool concepts. I know you're going to find it exciting. He's a director of transformation services at Peakon Workday, and where he helps organizations use their talent analytics and employee engagement tools to empower employees to drive the change they wish to see. It's a long way of saying we'll figure out how to make them better. He's a partner at the Super Trends Institute, where he focuses on the intersection of cutting-edge technology, global trends, and the implications they have on organizations and leaders, maybe like you. He is an alumni of the World Economic Forum's Global Shapers community and a former associate partner at McKinsey & Company. He's authored 2 best-selling books, Leadership at Scale, and the most recent one, Return on Ambition. So without further ado, let's bring our guest on today, Nicolai. May I pronounce your last name here? Nicolai Chen Nielsen. It's very flowery.
Yeah, absolutely.
Three names there. I like that.
No,
Yeah.
great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much. Wow. Well, I saw this book and I saw the title. I saw some questions I wanted to talk about. And it's funny because, we all are ambitious, right? We're all here trying to do things. Is there what's that about return? Is there ROI on ambition or what? What's the gist?
Well, that's the whole thing, right? Being a bit provocative. Yeah. We see ambition, my co-author and I, that ambition is some of the biggest investments that you make in life, in terms of your time, your resources, your energy, and oftentimes you're not really measuring the return, and oftentimes that leads you not fulfilled and thinking back what you might have done differently. So it is a play on return on investment, but it is also a very, very real thing.
Okay. And I know there's some history behind this. You guys, it's not your first rodeo. And you had some burnout issues at a young age, or how'd you deal with the ambition, the downside of it?
Yeah, it was a journey for me. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've always been extremely ambitious. Thinking back to when I was a kid, I wanted to be a professional soccer player. At the age of 5, I wanted to be the world's best. I mean, it was really just something that drove me and that formed a lot of my life choices throughout my teenage years, training every day and playing matches. And I ultimately decided not to become a professional for various reasons. But one of them was I realized painfully that I would never be quite as good as I had hoped for. So ambition has always been this incredible, strong drive. And there's been a dark side in the early 20s, for example. I did experience a form of burnout. I did essentially just take on too many things, and that was a pattern that has repeated itself. So it started a journey for me, and the last 6 years I've been studying ambition in a much more, you could say, professional, serious capacity, which then culminated in the book. So ambition, absolutely personal, but also something I found to be very, very relevant for the majority of individuals out there.
I'd like to take a little journey down to soccer days, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's always these moments, right, where especially at a young age, we're being imprinted with our dreams, and we haven't been beat up by the world yet. So it seems very natural to say, well, yeah, I mean, I want to be an astronaut. It was in the 60s. Let's go. I want to be going to the moon. Couldn't do it with my eyesight, but being a good soccer player, a great soccer player, you saw those sights that I want to be the best. So what was that? Was there a moment or a tipping point where like, holy crap, I can't do it? Or was it gradual?
Subconsciously, it was gradual, but there was absolutely a tipping point. I was 18 at the time. It was the winter, so I was running on a treadmill indoors, and I had this searing hip pain. I was running 5K, 20 minutes.
Sure.
I just remember thinking, okay, if I cannot even run 5K on my holiday to stay in shape, what the hell am I doing? And that was absolutely the tipping point. But then subconsciously, I think I had been ignoring the signs of both injuries, but also just that others seemed to be progressing more quickly. Yeah. I kept being very stubborn that, yes, I'm going to make it. But, I didn't want to face reality to some extent.
Right. We've done books for a bunch of athletes and people who are semi-pro, right? Guys who got right to the edge and just didn't get over to the other tipping point. And it's fascinating how many of them is like, an injury just took them out.
Yeah.
It was like, had you not been injured, I don't know, maybe you don't play the what if game, but I'm curious, like, if you'd not been injured, would there been another tipping point that have taken you down this other path? We don't know, but
Yeah, it's
you ever
it's an
think about
interesting
that?
question.
Yeah.
I think there would be. I think
Yeah.
unless you're really destined for it and you
Yeah.
will be fully fulfilled. Like if I would have been fulfilled becoming what I could have become, I
Yeah.
think that would be great. I think in my situation, and what often happens is that things will end up happening. You'll end up having some kind of hitting the wall, tipping point,
Yeah.
or just regret, right? And what awareness does is you can avoid
Mhm.
those unpleasant moments because you're asking yourself
Right.
tough questions earlier.
Yeah. So you're a young man, you're 18, you're thinking all these great things. You're on the trail, be like, holy crap, I feel like I'm not 18 anymore. Whatever happened. When it did come to the point where you decided I can't do it professionally, what did it feel like? What did you do?
It was a strange period, to be honest.
Yeah.
I've been brought up in a family where I've always been given the freedom to pursue
Yeah. Good.
whichever aspiration I was excited about, which I've learned,
Mhm.
as I've gotten older, that's been an incredible gift. I think I took it a bit for granted that I was
Right.
really just given this freedom by my parents. They did, of course,
Yeah.
want me to work hard and do the best and become the best
Yeah.
I could become. So that was actually very wonderful. There was never pressure. That being
Nice.
said, I also grew up in a family where education was very important. I was always going to go to university
Yeah.
and pursue higher education. So to some extent, there was definitely a period of just not knowing, and I could become anything in a way. Whether that meant consultant,
Yeah.
entrepreneur, politician, but it was also a lot of just a little bit
It's
of uncomfort around
blessing
that.
and a curse, right? It's like I can do anything, but I don't know what to do. Right?
Yeah,
So, but
that's where
then you said in
university
your
comes in handy.
right, yeah, I'm gonna go study or get my master's or PhD. What but you said you had another burnout when you're in your 20s then.
Yeah.
So you were ambitious in soccer. You shifted to was this in school burnout or first job out or
This
what was
was
it?
undergraduate studies.
Okay. Yeah.
And a lot of it, ambition for me is a lot about a drive, right? You have this yearning, you have
Yeah.
a drive, you want to do something, you want to get somewhere. And
Yeah.
sometimes you don't even know what you want to get to, or you have an idea, but it might not be the right one.
That's a point we'll come back to later. Remember that one.
Okay. Well, we'll come back to that
Okay.
one.
Yeah.
So to your point, I mean, that shifted for me, that drive.
Mm.
I was always going to go to university and I would have
Yeah.
maybe prioritized soccer, but now I was like, I'm going here. Because I want to, I'm going to get the highest grades possible. So I went all in, worked part-time. I had this idea in Europe, an undergraduate and graduate degree, you typically do together, and it's 5 years, 3+2. So I had this idea that over these 5 years, I would do 7 years worth of courses, meaning a significant extra amount per semester. And it was, self-imposed. I just wanted to do extra stuff. I wanted to learn new things and so forth. So early 20s, probably in my third year, I just remember crashing on the couch, and I was more perplexed at the time because for me, ambition is a good thing. And I was wondering, why can something that's meant to be good actually cause me so much despair? And I just didn't have any answers.
Point. So I want to come back to that personally, professionally, and for our listeners. That's the essence of your book. But you said something a minute ago about ambition, but you didn't know even what it was towards for
Mm,
ambition's sake alone. And
yeah.
that's a common theme, like, in some movies, I keep thinking of like, Star Trek 2, right? It's just an ambition, it's like, for what?
Yeah.
I don't know, just to have it.
World domination.
Yeah, world domination, right? So do you think many people that you talk to, obviously research for the book, do they have a clear path or goal or direction with their ambition, or was the ambition more powerful than the destination or journey?
Definitely a mixed bag. And I've
Yeah.
also thought a lot about this afterwards, after the book came out,
Yeah.
and I've reflected that we have an innate needs. I mean, Maslow, many years, like 70 years ago, talked about the Maslow's pyramid of needs, and whether you agree or not, we have needs as individuals, and that
Yeah.
can be equated to we have ambitions. Ambition is innate, and sometimes it's easier if I'd say that substitute the word ambition for dreams, and everyone's like, yes, I have dreams, right? It's a little bit more of a softer word, but we have something that's innate that we want to do with our life.
Yeah.
I think what's challenging is sometimes that gets channeled the wrong way, where it's
Mhm.
more fear driven, or it's more shaped by what society
Oh gosh,
expects you to do, right? I
yes.
mean, it's a very real
Huge.
phenomenon.
Right. You know, there's probably like a sliding scale, right, or bell curve on, you know, the person who's a slug does nothing, and the person who's like super ambitious, and then the one's got it controlled. Maybe, I don't know. You probably have your own diagrams in the book and stuff. But yeah, dreams, ambition. So begs the question. So, at what point do you know, or do you sense, or is there some trigger point where your ambition is not serving you but harming you?
Yeah, that's really the key.
Yeah.
We talk about in the book about instead of you managing your ambition is managing you.
Mm.
And that's a very real thing. And it becomes real for many people, unfortunately, when you have a bit of an upset moment, you have an aha moment, where this, subconscious energy and drive becomes very conscious, and you realize that it's not helping you. What we did was we looked at the types of situations where these occur, and we found that there's something we call frenemies in the book. They're friends of ambition, but they're also potential enemies. Ambition has a dark side, if you will. And it's important that there is a balance, because it's not that you want to get rid of them. For example, competitiveness is one of the frenemies. Desire is a frenemy. Independence is a frenemy. It's not that you want to get rid of it and say, oh, it's bad, and I just want to become much less of it, or I don't want it at all. It's about that balance, right? If you're competitive, that can help you, but you just have to manage it instead of letting it manage you.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, even a monk has ambition to do nothing, just think.
Get bananas.
Yeah. But is there a like, if you're going throughout the day, and you've probably talked to many people about this, is there a common thread on the aha moment of like, I got to change, there's something wrong here? Is there a consistent event, or maybe some phrase that comes up?
I think there's two different levels. There's let's say the macro level, where you have a feeling of you're not doing what you're meant to be doing, or you're just not fulfilled, right? You're not happy, you're not feeling successful. And that's where you ask yourself the return on ambition question. I'm putting so much energy into my ambition. What am I getting out?
Yeah.
And that's where we break it into three areas: around achievement, around growth, and well-being. So you begin to have a vocabulary around what you should be expecting from your efforts, and you should be expecting all three things. And we find that if you don't have all three, the other two will begin to fall over time.
Okay, what are those three again?
Achievement, growth, and well-being.
Well-being. Okay. So are they balanced, or are they just aware of those? It's a 33, 33, 33, or is it varies based on the person?
Doesn't have to be an even split, but it does have to be balanced.
Yeah.
And all the situations when people feel like ambition's getting better than them, they felt like at least one or maybe two of these three things were dropping, and they didn't maybe put words on it. I think the easy one is well-being. People often have bouts of not feeling they're spending time with themselves, with their friends, with their family, and so forth. But the other two, actually, we also see occurring, where some people, ambitious people, feel like they're not achieving as they should, and that might be because they're in the wrong job. They're not having self-set goals. And growth as well. If people are working hard and achieving, that's actually often sustainable if you're also feeling like you're developing. And if you're not, then you feel like, what's the point of all this?
I think I need your book. So I just counted 1.5 of those things, maybe 2, and mainly this week. But yeah, it's been a interesting few days. What? Too much TMI, Doug. TMI. All right. So if somebody's aware that they've got, hey, I've got some growth, I've got some well-being, got achievement, but it's a little bit out of whack. There's obviously some tools and strategies you can do to help mitigate this, and they are. Yeah.
They are.
Well, you say some simple strategies. So I want to hear where's my push button solution here, Nicolai?
Exactly. Just do this one thing, and everything will change.
Pill.
No, it's absolutely a journey, and I mean there is an assessment in the book to measure these three things, and there's no perfect assessment, but it's a way to give you a return on your ambition, and that return will go up and down over time. If you think of those 3 points like a stock market, right, or a stock over time, every quarter, you should be able to see some shifts. Yeah. But then what you do about it, if you notice that one of them is actually much lower, it does start with actually looking inwards and thinking about the patterns in your life which are causing you to make choices that are not serving you well. And that's where the frenemies come in handy, the 7 frenemies, because you typically will recognize 2, 3, sometimes 4 frenemies, sometimes even more. And then you begin to see, okay, this frenemy, independence, is causing me to not want to work with others and taking on too many things. Or this frenemy around competitiveness, I'm trying to win unnecessary battles, and so forth.
Yeah. Oh boy. Assessments in the book?
The assessments in the book, yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get this book. I'm going to take this assessment. And for those of you in our inner circle, I'll share my results. Return on ambition. This is so cool. So it sounds simple enough, right? So we're going to assess it. There's 7 frenemies. These are all in here. They're not real people, right? They're frenemies in here.
No, we gave them personas. We gave them some personas because it
names.
makes them more recognizable.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You want to go ahead and run through them? I'm sort of curious.
Yeah. So competitiveness, desire, flexibility, independence, boldness, convention, and perseverance.
These all sound great. They sound like great traits. They're very friendly. Where do they come? The enemy part come in.
They are friends. They're also enemies.
Because every strength is also weakness, right? It could be too flexible, right? Or you could be, yeah. Wow.
And these are really anchored on ambition because there are other assessments out there that can measure various things, but these are really because of the fact you're ambitious.
Right.
You have something you're striving for. These are more likely to occur in you.
Wow. Okay. You get a Kindle version, right? Yeah, I'm sure you do. It sounds simple enough. Okay, so what's the approach? How do you go through? If you talk to somebody privately or work with a corporation or something, talk to their C-suite people, you say, okay, you guys are doing X. What's your approach to working with them?
It does start from the big question and then going down to literally the daily life. We have something called the frenemy radar. But the big question is setting a philosophy of ambition. I mean, really thinking through what is your ambition, and more importantly than the destination is actually the direction, because so many things will change in your life and you don't know if you will publish X book or Y book, or if this company will be successful. But along those 3 dimensions of achievement, growth, and well-being, what are your principles you want to live by? What's the future state you want to get to? So you can make an assessment that you are on the right path and you're living in alignment with your true ambition.
That sounds fair. Aligning values with what you're doing. That sounds pretty reasonable to me.
Yeah, but it's hard. I think many people, ambitious people we interviewed and surveyed, they don't carve out time to reflect because it's just people are busy, people are running fast, right? So it does sound simple in practice, but the book is also a bit of a forcing mechanism to sit down, and we have self-coaching sessions. So yes, a coach will help you, but the book is just the first step there. So sit down and think about these questions and reflect.
In all your travels, writing this brilliant book and talking to people, obviously no names here, but any like surprising stories along the way of somebody who I couldn't believe this happened, either a overly ambitious or a lot not ambitious successful person or something?
I mean, there were many. We did probably around 25 in-depth case studies and interviews. And one thing that surprised me was pretty much all these people who today are highly successful and fulfilled, they feel like they have a high return on ambition. They all had very big upsets in their life, and they learned actually quite painfully, right? And I guess it was actually a surprise that when you see people today, you always just assume, even young or successful, you assume that it's all come relatively easy, right? But it's not.
We've published a couple hundred books for clients, and a lot of them are people like you, the intelligent, corporate consultants. Like every single one of them, when I get into their story, they all had some kind of pretty serious trauma. Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna mention names till the books come out, but there's rape and murder and alcoholism out the wazoo. There's so many stories here, and these people are all like multi-millionaire. They run like big organizations, but they had they're not. It'll be in their books, right? I encourage them to be a little bit transparent, to let people know that we're all human. Nobody gets out of this existence alive or without a scar or two. If you have no scars, you haven't done anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, some of the examples, just to give you a flavor of some of the interesting stories. Anish Shah, from the book, he was at the young age, he wanted to be very successful in business. He said the good Gordon Gekko, went to Ivy League, did everything right. He said he was checking all the boxes. became a consultant at McKinsey, went up through the ranks very fast. But he, long story short, quit and is now a successful and happy stand-up comedian, right? But he said that
That's
journey,
great.
yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. But
Wow.
the process
I can't
was almost
imagine.
unbearable, right? He's leaving
That's
a
much
high-paying
different than
corporate
going
job.
from soccer to business, to going from Gordon Gecko to comedy.
I
That's
would
a
say
bigger
this is
shift.
bigger.
Okay. A little bigger shift. How old was he
Yeah.
when he made that shift?
Probably, I mean, after business school and then about 5 years at McKinsey, so probably early 30s.
Wow. Still, that's
I mean, he jokes by saying he wanted to he wanted to figure out how he could disappoint his parents in the biggest way.
right.
So that was it.
Or if he was married or had a girlfriend at the time, you're working at McKinsey, you want to go stand up? I said that's the first and last joke you'll tell, right?
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, that's a great story. What else you
But
got?
that was the convention frenemy, right? The convention
Yeah.
frenemy didn't allow him to deviate from a very impressive CV and career.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But he had to, and he's happy he did.
Yeah. Oh my God. I've been a judge for some comedy festivals, and it's we've both done speaking, I'm sure. I'm on stage, I'm talking about something, it's fine. But when you gotta, try to make somebody laugh and you don't,
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I mean, I don't have any fear of speaking, but I have a fear of stand up because if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's
like you're giving something out. You just need a response.
yeah. It's like I do
Yeah.
magic, right? So I had magic once when I was, a young man, and it didn't work. And there was like 500 people in the audience. I'm like, oops. It's the worst. I mean, you just instantly sweat.
You're flushed. Your brain freezes.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. So you've been in this consultant world doing these things at Super Trends Institute, etc. Was there something specific that made you say, I gotta get this into print, make a book out of it? Was it personal or for the business, or what was the intention?
I think a couple of different angles. One was and is, I always believe you should write the book that you want to read, and that's regardless of the genre.
Yeah,
I mean, now I'm writing a book
Wow.
about how to organize and how to take the future into consideration and so forth as you look at life. That's that super trends merger of technology and so forth. But that's a book I would like to read today because I'm curious about these questions and no one's answering them, right?
I every morning I go meditate or run or something, and I've got one in me that makes no money, but it's so important to do. And it's I figured it out. I'll just share it with you right now. We have time. It's my show.
Please.
You know how the world's kind of like divided about everything right now?
Yes, very much so, and becoming more divided.
Divisive anger, meme stuff. I'm like, I finally figured it out. And I don't know if anybody's going to listen to me, but I drew like a graph. Like, okay, I have this belief system, and I'm trying to tell somebody a belief, but they're not listening, right? So it's like this. And in the middle, because I have a firm belief, right? Forget the values. Let's talk about beliefs. But in the middle, if I like open up my beliefs, like this is like tolerance. Like I tolerate you. I don't agree with you, but I tolerate you.
Yeah.
If you go up a level, it'd be like acceptance. Like, well, I accept you, which is better than tolerance because tolerance has embedded with a little bit of angst, right? But hey, I'm going to go ahead and just accept you for who you are. That's cool. But there's no growth or connection there. If you go one level higher, I came up with this one word: curiosity. What if you were genuinely curious about something you completely disagreed with? Don't have to change your values.
Very powerful.
But if you could focus on your beliefs. And man, I've been doing this for a few months now, and it is crazy. I feel like I love everybody. And it sounds so woo-woo. I don't want to write the woo-woo book. I want to write a how to heal the world book. It's like, why don't you be curious about the things you hate?
Yeah.
I mean, this is not my idea. I actually, I haven't got this guy on the show yet. Daryl Davis is a African-American jazz musician out in the East Coast. And this happened years ago, but he was curious about why people would hate him and they don't even know him. So he calls up the guy from the Ku Klux Klan, the Grand Wizard, says, hey, I'm curious if I can have a meeting with you. I'm curious about some things. Yeah, sure. This guy comes to his bodyguard's hotel and says, who are you? He says, I'm the guy that called you.
Oh my God.
And, they had a very short meeting, the first one, but he agreed to meet him again and again. Daryl went to a Ku Klux Klan meeting and sitting there and listening because he was curious about why they hated him. Well, guess who his best friends are now?
Hmm.
Guess who turned in all their cloaks in that chapter? I think it's Connecticut or something. They all quit because he was curious about why they hated him. That's all. He's like, hey, I'm just curious. Why would you hate somebody you don't know?
And if he's asking the question, they have to reflect on it as well.
Because you understand that, right? If our brain cannot answer or try to answer a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
a magical thing. I had Noah St. John on recently. He wrote a book called Affirmations, not affirmations. Affirmations hardly work. But he says, I take every affirmation, put it in a question format, my subconscious goes to work on it.
Yeah.
By nature. So yeah.
No, I love that. It's so powerful.
Anyway, all right. So not now because I have to work, but when the world's really on fire, I'm looking for some help. I'll give you a call if you want to help me with that. It'd be fun.
Please do.
We're gonna heal the world. So your next book is about how to live in the future, science fiction. Just joking.
No.
How to blend. Yeah, this is
how to navigate. I think navigate, make sense of the future, and essentially do something about it. We all know the world is moving faster and faster and faster. That's not a surprise, but I think one thing we're trying to do, I'm also writing with a co-author, Lars Trill. He wrote a book called Super Trends. If you take a future-backed lens and try to think about what will the future look like in the next 5-10 years, and then look backwards and say, okay, therefore, what does that mean for businesses and individuals? It's a very different proposition than saying, organizations must become agile or they must become one thing. That can become very limiting almost. So we're trying to actually take the opposite approach and peer into the future, look at the inflection points, and then from there, figure out the principles and the imperatives today.
That sounds like it could be if you get a crystal ball into that you could charge $1,000 for that book.
If there's a crystal ball, exactly. That's updated because the book's going to be outdated, right?
No, big about principles, not on the minutia, right?
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because the books, it's funny. Yeah, a book is, as you know, it's got a lot of cachet because it just sticks around forever. Advertising and social media is, seconds, but books stick around.
There's actually a book here called the Organization of the Future, written from the early 90s. So
nice.
It's gonna get outdated like all these other organizations of the future. But it's a moment. I think we had a pivotal moment as well in the world with everything that's happened during the pandemic. Now after the pandemic, people are asking questions. Companies are asking questions, and there is appetite and I think a need for big changes.
What kind of questions are they asking?
Well, in the talent space, a lot of people, more than a quarter of employees, they are saying that they want to leave their jobs. When you look at the talent analytics data, Peakon recently published a report that said about 27% of employees are displaying sentiments of people who have left the company, but they have not yet left. Right?
Yeah, right. Okay.
And
the reasons being just culture, travel. What? I mean,
I think a lot of it is post-pandemic or the pandemic experience. When you look at things like desire for more balance, desire for more flexibility, people are feeling like they're not doing what they're meant to doing. You're asking uncomfortable questions, and it's hard to answer them.
That's fast. 27% of people are acting like they're going to leave, basically.
Yeah.
Have the same markers, huh?
But I think if you speak with people, they would also admit that COVID, there's been a lot of hardship, but there's also been things that have been more pleasant than before. For example, everyone who's now able to work more from home, been able to see their families perhaps much, much more, or picked up a hobby. They're really asking, like, do I want to go back to what it was like before? Do I even want a 9-to-5? I'm actually seeing people opting out of the rat race more. And it's a journey. It's not like you'll do it tomorrow, but they're thinking very critically about, hey, maybe if I did it more freelance, maybe if I could carve out a path where I'm working 4 days a week and having a 3-day weekend and only getting paid to work 4 days a week, but maybe that's actually what I want, right?
Yeah. Joe Santa coming out with the book this month on that topic, for the 4-day work week. Yeah, it's looking really good. He's with HarperCollins and whatnot. He's on the show recently. Wow, this is great stuff, Nicolai. When are you starting on the next book?
Well, beginning to put things down on paper as we speak.
We'll talk in a year. What do you think?
Yeah, hopefully sooner.
Okay, well, whatever. Yeah. All right. So anyway, folks, Return on Ambition. It'll be in the show notes down here, but It's on Amazon, right? Or is there a website so you can go to, or how do you want to promote this?
Returnonambition.com has all the
Okay.
information, and there's a white paper you can download if you're interested in the theoretical concepts behind the book. You can download the first chapter of the book. But right now it's actually retailing on Amazon at a discount. I think about $14.49 for the hard copy and $9.99 for Kindle. So
All
that
right.
is definitely something you can look at.
All right. Well, you'll see a new review on there in about 24 hours, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome.
I enjoyed this conversation.
Oh man, I love talking to smart people. It's just so much more interesting. So thank you. Thank you.
You're too
Not
kind.
insinuating any of you other people weren't smart. I'm just saying he is. Okay, just be clear here. I just want to be nice about it. Okay, great. Thanks for being on the show today. I appreciate you, Nicolai.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, you bet. All right. Wow, what a great book. What a great concept. Get that thing. I'm sure you're gonna like it. Nicolai Chen Nielsen is the man about return on ambition. Don't forget to download not just his book, get it on Kindle or hardcover, but our show notes are also there available in the show. This is Doug Crow with the Author Brand Show. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you later.